Welcome to the third instalment of our question time at Eton College here with Turf Business.
Yeah, hi guys. Just a quick couple of questions from myself. I've got a 16-year-old lad. One of his friends wanted to get into greenkeeping. He was told by his careers advisor at school, you don't want to do that. You want to become an electrician. That's where you'll never make any money doing that. So this is, I think, what the youngsters are being told at schools. I can remember when I was at school and when I was in your side of the industry, we actually had kids who came on work experience. Now, that doesn't seem to happen anymore, work experience in my eyes. And also, say my 16-year-old lad went to grammar school, they don't even have a careers advisor at their grammar school, or not somebody who's been trained in that capacity. So we're losing these people before they're even thinking about doing a framework that's coming up or anything else like that. And I think that's one key thing where we've got to try and actually get into that year 10, year 11 kid. And I don't know how we do it. They haven't got the answers, but that's what I'm seeing. Also, secondly, just a quick question to you guys. How many of you, when you advertise a job, actually put the salary on there? And do you believe that that is something that should happen, doesn't happen enough, and would it be worth it?
Jim, you don't, because you just poach. You whisper in people's ears. Dougie?
We've done both. We've advertised both showing the salary and not. We have benchmarked against other London clubs to see, are we equivalent? Are we where we need to be? How far off are we? But you still need somebody to apply, and that's just not happening. And we know we're paying more than the local golf courses in the area, but nobody wants to move from that. Is it a West Ham problem? Doesn't seem to be, because you'll get people from outside the sector apply for the job. It's just, there is a big shortage.
Lee?
We used to advertise a salary. My first year here, every job was advertised with salary. We went away from it and went competitive. We're also hoping people that would apply would be sort of, this is what I almost want to be paid to a point within reason. Okay. And then that's up to us whether we decide, they're the person we want. So we've gone away from it, to be honest. Also, being competitive as well, it means that if people are asking, we can tell them what we're willing to pay. But also, I've got a team of 30 that I've also got to try and keep happy.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've got to weigh it all up and work out, what is the best way. It's not, because we're Eton, we're embarrassed what we pay everything else. No, it's not. It's because I've got a team of people that I've got to try and keep happy, and you've got to try and weigh everything up. So, not an easy answer.
Different circumstance for you, Lee?
We do. We put the salary in. I'll admit now, it's compared to some of our local good golf clubs around us, it's not as high as them. So in a way, it does short-circuit that recruitment process of those people that would apply. That then, if you then had that phone conversation and discuss the salary band, I've got a lot of staff as well, so that there's set bands for trainee and for assistant. So I'm not going to pay more for someone I was desperate for. It just wouldn't work with the other 10 people on that band. So it does cut through some of the recruitment, but yeah, ultimately we're coming round to the fact that we are going to have to pay more money. We had a 10% increase at the start of the year, but it's not enough.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Rob? Okay.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump back, because obviously they were just talking about how to kind of reach out to that year 9, 10, 11. And it's one of those things that I think we've just got to very much jump into the boat, however uncomfortable it feels, and we're going to have to start showcasing ourselves a little bit, and we're going to have to jump straight into social media. As much as we hate to do it, I mean, I've gone and set up a TikTok account. I've done nothing with it, because I'm absolutely bricking myself, to be honest. But...
Dragging your leg.
Yeah. But that's something that you need to start getting into. Kids don't digest anything apart from social media, so that's where we've got to be. If we're not into social media, well, you don't exist, exactly. So somehow we've got to be able to do that. I know Will's started to do it a little bit. I mean, he's very good at social media, especially obviously during the championships. He peaks and he's pinging it out all the time. And I know he's got a TikTok account, but when you've got however many millions of people using TikTok, we've got to get into that. We've got to be able to showcase what we're doing far more often than we do. I mean, yeah, there's Twitter, but that turns into an absolute bitch fest most of the time. And then you can go to Instagram, which is where everybody showcases how great they think their lives are, but it's not really. But you need to have some benchmark of reality there that when, so for instance, nobody showcases a match day when people roll in at 5 o'clock in the morning and leave at 9 o'clock at night. But that needs to be showcased. You need to show that this is what it takes. You've got to work hard to be able to do it. And like I say, when people have aspirations to be working in the sports turf industry or greenkeeper or anything, I mean, you've got to come up to those major events. I mean, obviously, Paul Larson had an absolute cracker when he did his showcase for his event. I mean, you need to know when to strike, but I think that's the sort of thing that as an industry we need to get so much better at, because I think we're absolutely appalling at times. We're all very good at saying how good each other's bits of grass are, but we're not very good at showing people that have no interest in our industry whatsoever and hook them in. And that's where we need to try and find that little sweet algorithm spot where we can start doing that.
I think that's, from my point of view, that's easy if you've got an RFU behind you. It's easy if you've got a Premier League or a West Ham behind you. But Eton, London Golf Club, as the London Golf Club, you can't do that. But maybe as a sport, sports can.
Yeah.
Can schools, colleges, education sector?
We have to be pretty careful on social media what we put. So if we're putting something on, it's generally a personal account and you don't tag the college in it. You just assume people might know where you work and go from there. Something that the college are doing more of in terms of social media. The problem is we do anything good, we're shot down straight away for doing something good.
Okay.
So it's a real tough one. So yeah, I try and put some things on Twitter, try and promote, especially with recruitment and things like that, and try and do that kind of stuff to try and show that we are doing things, and but you have to be careful with it. Obviously, can't have students in it, and so it's generally in times. But
then,
you just try and still promote it.
Yeah, but I mean that still comes down to the point that to a degree there's a little bit of training that needs to be done there, so you know where the safe kind of boundaries are to work within. But on the flip side is that and that's where I think all of us kind of sit to a certain degree, that you can have a personal account and be as opinionated as you like. You can be one of the trolls if you want to, but I think if you're happy that you want to go out there and represent your company and your company's happy for you to do that, which is what I've done with the RFU. I said, look, are you happy if I promote what I'm doing? And they absolutely, the CEO just said, yeah, do it. And he just backed me 100%. Didn't even bat an eyelid. Said, yeah, that's fine. Just make sure obviously what you're doing, it's relevant to what we're doing. It's not, don't obviously go on there and say, oh, England rugby was shite today and all that. I can't do obviously any of that. That makes sense. But from what I'm doing as a job and as a role, I can actually start promoting that. So that's how I use my social media. And as long as you've got the backing of your managers and they understand that that's what you're trying to achieve, then they normally let you get on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more schools now that have got their own Twitter account and what they do, and you know, it's to be fair, I've not really had time to go and have a discussion with about having our own one, but you know, it's just something we have to be careful of, just because of the school we are and people.
I think my point really was where you've got a big fan base for rugby or a football club, you've got an audience there that, you know, some of those are going to be young, some of them you could attract into the industry by showcasing it. Showcasing it on Eton's social media probably isn't going to be going to the audience you want to hit. Yeah.
Then I think that's where accounts like ours can help. So it should be more a case of actually being able to retweet stuff that Lee's put on there and vice versa for anybody in here. If I think that's relevant, I'm thinking, well, yeah, if that's a job there, just fire it out. If that's great work, fire it out. Just retweet it and put a little comment on it. I just don't think we use social media as the tool that it's intended for. We can reach lots of people and we can help each other to make that promotion. As the fact is that, I mean, quite frankly, I could disappear off Twitter tomorrow. I hate the bloody platform, to be honest. But I know as what I'm doing in the position I'm in and the platform that I'm working to, that's part of it. It's almost a bit of the remit. I have to do my bit for the industry, so I'll persevere with it. And it should be the same principle. Everybody should be doing their little bit. I mean, we're all sit here and gripe and moan about everything. We just need to be a bit more constructive with how we kind of utilise tools that are there, that they're free, we don't have to pay for them, and we can have access to millions. We just need to work out the best way to do it.
And I still maintain that those that are associated with big sports, big clubs, you will pick up followers because of who you're associated with that aren't necessarily interested in the groundscare side of things. It's just another insight into something that they're interested in as a sport.
Absolutely, yeah.
My brother changed careers mid of pandemic, etc., and he became a teacher. The feedback that very much came from him is that it's, and I don't know if the education-based side can back this up as much as well, but his view is that everything is far more technology-based through our schools. You know, so when we're trying to promote a trade, as what we're trying to be, schools just aren't really pushing towards trades as much as they used to be, even more so now than ever. I think that ties in potentially with the salary sides of it as well, because technology does bring so much of a better salary to the world at the moment. So I think you've really touched on a big part of it. Is there enough tech involved in our industry from that perspective? You know, there are sides where I know Leicester are doing stuff with, you know, testing on data collection and things like that. It's a very interesting subject to start talking about IT, because we are cutting grass at the end of the day. There's not so much technology that can be brought into that. But do you definitely feel that that's something that you're getting feedback from kids as well in apprenticeships, and that they are more technology based?
You know, for some clubs, like you mentioned one there, you know, they'll do a lot of data collection and they'll get apprentices involved in that little projects. How can we improve things? How can we use technology to improve things? There is technology within the sort of apprenticeship standards, both within greenkeeping and within sports turf, but ultimately you're bound by what exists within that workplace sometimes, and it's different at different levels within the sport.
I think just going back to saying that it's just technology and IT, it's not. Grounds manager today has to have a million hats. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be a soil scientist, agronomist. You've got to be a manager of people. You've got to be a project manager. You've got to be able to have that expenditure to be able to do reports and presentations. The thing is that there's a whole element there where you can kind of attract different elements because we do different elements. So, for instance, you've got budding biologists, scientists. Well, we have to do that nearly every day. We're trying to work with a living plant and an organism all the time. The better understanding you've got of that, the easier it is to make the job. So you've got the ability there. You've got another audience that you can kind of tap into. We just need to know how to tap into it. You don't want to be sat in a lab. They can be out in the field and doing studies and trials and stuff like that and helping develop our industry. We just got to remember, everybody's so easy to kind of revert back saying, oh, we're just cutting grass. We're not. That's like the smallest of elements that we do. Yeah, it takes time, but it's the smallest element. We do so much more than that. And we just need to get that understanding now that for an audience to attract, we need to understand what we do as a role. And we're multifaceted as a role. So therefore, you could be coming in and actually learning more in doing different things, but you might have specific speciality that actually I'm well into my soil science. I'm hyper geeked soil scientist. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Hold on a minute, but I can do that, and I can be at West Ham at the training ground. I could actually see what I decide and learn and implement and see the actual results from that. And that's the sort of thing you've got to start looking at. It's not a case of just saying, oh, we're just grass cutters. We're not. Those days are long, long gone. I mean, you look at a 21st century grounds manager today, some of the stuff we have to do is like next level. We're helping organise events. All of a sudden you've got events management. It's like, well, hold on a minute. If somebody wants to be getting into an events management, you can still come and be part of a grounds team. You're helping produce.
Specialising in that area.
And that's the way you've got to look at it. And I think that's where we've got to start heading towards now. We've got to start. That's how you kind of broaden your horizons in terms of an audience, of trying to get that not just a retention, but getting people to come into the industry. It's not just cutting grass.
I completely agree with you. I think I agree with definitely not just grass cutters, and you're completely right in that we do probably need to do more in the day in the life of, specifically in managing positions, because it's all well and good trying to get apprenticeships going and saying, right, well, let's teach these guys how to change oil if they are going to do mechanic stuff, if they are going to set a mower, or if they are going to, I don't know, do a bit of rolling in cricket or whatever. But that's not the end goal, is it? Really? The end goal is realistically trying to produce the next lot of us. So we need to do, as a guess, day in the life more often. If that's videos on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, then maybe there needs to be more initiative for that comes out of this.
100%. And I think, again, that's where social media comes into it, where you can actually be able to run those reels. You can have that whole kind of, all the different aspects that we do on the space of an average day or a week, and just be able to showcase that.
I think as well, though, Jim, that the TV companies could help considerably. You take cricket, they'll openly discuss the wicket and how the wicket should play and this and that and the next thing. Ask the groundsman to be part of that conversation. Yeah, we've just done Project Restart with football. Nobody could understand how they can't go and see their family, but you can have 11 lads, hugging after they've scored a goal. Yeah, Sky could have easily done a programme and explained the difference the times, the testing, what was involved in Project Restart. It was never done. Is there an interest for it? I don't know. The Premier League run a tournament in the wettest season in Asia this time of year. But there's no groundsman goes out unless the club specifically sends somebody. Yeah, so you take Jim's position, the RFU, whether he's sent around the country, to go and look at different rugby clubs, etc. But that's working for a national body. So I just think if we could get this help from others to promote the business, you just push it so much further forward. Again, somebody mentioned Paul Larson. He was all over social media with the Open, and you could see him in the background, but very quickly panned off.
I miss him though, can you?
It didn't work.
The other thing is, though, technologies in this industry are coming more as well. You've got, in terms of data, you've got the soil scouts for moisture, robots for marking, autonomous mode's probably on its way, So we are getting more technology advanced as an industry as well. So, you've got to embrace it all and hope it attracts them sort of people coming in, yeah.
Kind of one of the things that really annoys me and has done since I started in the industry is that we're not recognised as a trade. When you think about everything we do the college, we do the licences for spraying, chainsaw, so on and so forth. We do everything that a plumber, electrician, mechanic would do. We go through the same training. We're never held within that skill set. Especially within our job, we do plumbing, irrigation, we do mechanics, fleet management, we do all the trades. Do you feel that there's a bit of a catch-22 where, as Rob said, you speak to a careers advisor or old school heads of education, when they go, well, you don't want to do that because you won't earn any money. Unfortunately, that's the mindset in the golf clubs, in the football clubs, where they're not going to pay us because essentially we're just grass cutters, we're just mower monkeys. Do you think the wage needs to go up first and there needs to be this appreciation of you're a skilled asset, you get paid and then it will come? Or do you think it needs to be the other way around where we need the apprentices we need the people filling the positions and they'll pay the wage because of the skill set?
It's going to run side by side. So you're going to have the work that Jason and Jeff and Jim and all, they're all kind of trying to kick-starting this whole point where you're getting to the school leavers and you're trying to get that. That's going to take a long time before that comes to fruition. There's going to be a whole period of that, stage by stage, benchmarking it, hitting that KPI, moving on to the next one. I mean, realistically, that could be 10 years away before that's actually completely got into a point where it's completely running itself and everything in there in terms of a framework is there. The interesting thing is that, which we've already touched on, is that we're kind of getting to this point where we're slowly car crashing in terms of an industry, and there is people leaving and all the rest of it. Again, we're just limping along. We haven't got to that point yet where enough people have left for employers to realise that when they come to recruitment, they can't get hold of anybody. So they're either going to have a massive training budget and take the risk of bringing people in that aren't familiar with the job, or they're going to have to pay a lot more money to get people to stay. And that's going to happen. It's literally just a matter of time because we can talk here now, today, about something that's not going to have any impact for another 4 or 5 years. But it's going to happen. So we're going through this whole transition now as a land-based sector where we're going to get to a point where people have gone, screw this, I'm going to go be a Sparky and do a 2 or 3 year training course and go and earn 2 or 3 times as much, right? Or you're going to get people that are going to drop out of there saying, physically, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to go be a Tesco delivery driver, whatever. But principally as employers, they're going to go, actually, let's go out. We probably haven't voiced it enough to say, actually, we can't get anybody. So we are going to have to start paying above market value, whatever that market value is. Like Dougie mentioned earlier, we do kind of do the whole benchmarking thing. Well, what are you paying? What are you paying? Are you happy to share? And we kind of do that. But ultimately, you do have to get to that point where you just have to bite the bullet and employers just have to accept that we are then become, in terms of our stock value, it increases. It goes higher by nature because there's nobody else they can pay to do it. So I think it's one of those where everybody's just going to almost have to sit tight and just accept that this transition is happening. And the stimulus that's going to happen is it's natural. It's not one of those where we're trying to force the door down. It's just by its very nature that say, for instance, if Dougie left West Ham, you're not leaving, are you?
No, yeah.
Okay. So if Dougie left West Ham, for instance, nothing that Dougie would have done when he left saying, right, I'm done, I've had enough, I'm too old for this game, I'm going to go back home, whatever he decides to do. But when West Ham go to recruit, they might find out actually there's nobody who's got the skill set of Dougie. Nobody who's got the experience of Dougie. So when they do that, they're going to say, well, shit, we're going to have to pay a bit more. So all of a sudden, Dougie's kind of here, and then they're going to have to find a budget for a 15-20% increase to get somebody to basically replace him. And it's things like that that are going to happen year on year on year to increase our stock value, to then all of a sudden you get to that point, actually, everybody else is going to have to do the same now because I'm going out and poaching so-and-so and all the rest of it. All that has to happen. So we're going to have to just accept that that's where it's going to go. And like Sam, I think it's going to happen. It has to happen. We can't carry on as we are. So, albeit what the GMA and bigger and the governing bodies and the education boards and everything else are trying to do, that's the long-term game. So we can't accept that's how it's going to be. For now, we're going to have to just work it amongst ourselves, adapt, and just accept that our employers at some point are going to have to take the realisation that they're going to have to pay more. Sorry, I've just ran this on. Crack on.
Right.
Just on that, at the last summit, I was part of the group which we did a lot about wages, etc. And we put a poll up of different ranges of percentage of what the room felt, everyone felt, that the increases need to go into wages. And I believe, you might have the data, I think it was about 20%. I think everyone across the room sort of felt like they wanted a 20% increase. On the back of what you've just said, do you think it's a fair statement to say that as a united front and a community in this room that we need to fight for that 20% on the whole when that situation comes around, that car crash happens and the employers go, yeah, well, we'll pay more because it's, I put this from a perspective of, like you said, if Dougie leaves, we're going to have to find a budget. But then, let's say, for example, we, as a group, all come together. I know they're all individual businesses and they've all got their own different plans. But if we come together as grounds managers and etc. and agree that 20% is where we need to be, and proposing that when it does come to it, aren't we then on an even keel to making sure that the industry is moving together as one, rather than one club or one golf course moving separately?
I think that's really difficult to get the consistency, though, as you said, because we've all come under different networks. It's easy to say it. In reality, doing it is completely different. And in a school situation, dealing with a bursar is probably slightly different dealing with a chief executive or a chairman at a football club. So, and to do it together, we probably have to be part of a union. So then we are united. And that's probably where we're not. We're at the moment, we're very much individual that, you know, may go with salary guides or from either GMA or bigger. So I think at the moment that's very difficult to do, and that's near impossible, I think. But
it was more along the point of what Jim was saying, is that it's not necessarily today, but I think as an industry, maybe it's worth.
I think your percentages are about right, and where they are. Coming out of COVID, I think there's so many clubs, sports clubs in general, from football, golf, right the way through, that lost so much revenue. They're just too nervous to do anything.
Yeah, the other problem is on that, we're talking about staffing now. We've been talking here for about 10 years. So our vortex of a staffing issue, which we've had for 10 years, is now in a massive vortex where everyone is now going, we're short of staff. So our bubble is now in a lot of a bigger bubble and gets lost. So it's now a country, worldwide issue where before everyone was just getting by, our little sector was struggling. I feel we're in a much worse position because of that now than what we was before. Okay. That's the biggest thing, we're going to get lost.
Can I just move it on a sec?
Do you think that the panel sees joining the union or creating their own union? I know we've got bigger and the GMA, but they're not a union as such. Forming one for sports turf professionals as a way to get better pay, better hours, increased working conditions. You know, we're seeing a few strikes now. I'm not saying we're all going to go on strike.
Why not?
Sorry?
Why not?
Well, who's going to do that?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, though. If you've all joined a union...
That's the whole thing, yeah, if we did join a union.
That's what I'm saying, though. So if you join a union, I mean,
everyone's got to be on board with it.
Exactly, you're a collective, so you're going on strike all together.
So it would be, but if we do it in the winter, that'd be ideal for us.
Brilliant.
Okay, well, I just wondered if there is any mileage in that, to set up a union of some sort. I mean, at the moment, we've got associations, we get salary guides and all that, but actually, I can take that in and give that to my accountant or our finance director, and he just, looks at it. Whether he takes any notice or not is another story. But individually, we've got no power. I'm in a union, but one bloke, it's no good me going on strike and standing at the end of the driveway with a placard and all that sort of stuff. But it's
What union you in?
GMB.
Okay, I don't.
GMB, yeah. So
I'm asking you, I don't know.
it's quite a good union. I did look into it, but it's, Prospect Union's quite a good union. I know they've done some good work with the GMA in the past, which is all a bit under the radar. The boys don't shout about it. They've done well with that. But it needs, like Jim says, it needs everyone to join in on that. Would it be golf courses? Would it be cricket, football, rugby, tennis, the whole lot? To get everyone involved on it. I mean, sort and pay out, like you say, it's very difficult across the board. But got to start somewhere, innit?
Okay.
Just on your point, Stuart, the Prospect Union, I'm a member of it. That was put forward as a Premier League group by the GMA several years ago. There wasn't a big uptake at all. I don't know how many took the initial offer against how many are still within the union. You're right what you said, the GMA and BIGA are only membership bodies that people run to when there's an issue, thinking that they're a union. And sitting on both sides of the fence from an employee and while I was on the board, it's very, very difficult. Money's tight for people now. Have people got extra money to put themselves into a union position? That's an individual's choice. But we all insure a vehicle. Why don't we insure ourselves?
Yeah, just to back up what Dougie said. I personally went around all the different unions to work out which was the best one for representing this sector. And we ended up with Prospect in the end. And that's because some of you with maybe longer memories might remember Alex Ferguson attacking the referees on the back pages of the paper, and Prospect became the union for referees. So they kind of had a better affinity with sport, let's say. And the reason we went with them is if you go with a GMB and you're an individual, like you're saying, you might wait 6 weeks for a rep to come to you. So if you do want that type of approach, we can unlock those doors. The bottom line was we got a discounted offer. It was based on volume. It was open not only to football but to cricket as well. Dougie was proactive with it. Many other people weren't. Some weren't because they were already in different unions. So it made it very difficult for us to keep that deal going. And the reason it's not promoted now is because the union turned around to us and said, not enough of your sector has signed up with us. Even though we promoted it, we got a discount through our membership for it. And it gave us that hybrid of being an association, raising the issues and working alongside a union. So that opportunity was lost because there was a lack of proactivity at that point around it. And the other thing you've got to be really careful with when you talk about the word union. Unions are there to help you with a lot of things. It's not just about let's go on strike. Unions can help you with HR. They can help you with a whole range of things, recruitment even. So don't think of it as a last resort. You can think of it as an addition to your thinking or an addition to your human resources and things like that. If you want us to go back and unlock that door again, more than happy to do it. But you need a lot of people to sign up. And I kind of agree with you. You can go on strike if you want. It would overnight raise your profile, right? But can you imagine if you shut down Premier League football for one weekend, what the reaction of the public's going to be to you? And you're saying you want 20% rise in wages. Well, what are you basing that against? There's some of your peers who are way above a salary scale, doing really well out of it. There are a lot of people that I've come across, and we've asked questions. That Premier League group Dougie, I can remember being in Malmo with that group, and we were trying to get what are your salaries so we can represent you. We couldn't get it out of you. So if you can't help buddies like us and Jim with Bega, what chance you got? That's why we're coming back to the framework argument, and that's why you need a structure in order to set that benchmark, and then you can move forward from that. It's that simple, but it's hard work.
Can I just put another poll out there? I think we've got one set up on this, so if you can go to your polls section. Do you see joining or creating a union for sports turf professionals as a way to increase pay, get better hours and improve conditions for the majority of the workforce as a good option? So yes, no, don't know. So majority, 50% yes, as opposed to don't know. Oh, it's changing a little bit, so we just slipped up to 52. So the biggest answer is yes, but it's kind of split between don't know and no. Dougie, you're a union man. Do you think, obviously, that there is a role for that to play in this industry, and having heard what Jeff said?
I do think there's a role. I think it's important that in this day and age, people are protected better. I've been in it, I don't know how many years now. Have I had to use them? No. Have I spoken to them for advice? Yes. But it's just another security blanket. You know, you put an alarm in your house, you don't put one in. You just choose how far you want to be secured.
Lee, Sayers, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that. It's something I don't know a huge amount about, I've got to be honest. I'm going to swerve that one. I do think, you know, Jeff's mentioned there that there's some people in the grounds industry there that have done very well out of it. It's the same in the golf industry. You know, part of me thinks, in a way, you know, it's down to the individual, but that's not going to protect you. You know, when push comes to shove, you're on your own. You can go out very quickly. So it is an interesting thought.
Lee?
I've never been part of a union, and probably still won't be part of one going forward, I don't think.
Okay. Jim?
I think it's again, it's a bit of an education there with people understanding, like Jeff said, you need to understand what a union is representing, what it can do for you, rather than just have this whole, I want to be paid more, because like you don't want to be seeing that as a last resort. But I think there is legs in us being a bit more cohesive in terms of how we are as an industry, rather than having not necessarily individual membership organisations, etc., but I think there just needs to be a lot more communication and very clear drive and directive with what we would like from our membership associations and others to help us promote ourselves first and foremost. I think with regards to unions, I think that again is just, like Dougie said, it's that bit of insurance that you've got there, that you feel at least that little bit protected, and you don't feel like from an individual workplace that you're under any pressure, that you can't seek advice if you need it. Certainly with dealing, even from human resources perspective, you can still have that discussion with a union representative who will be able to at least advise or send you to a specialist who can advise. I think it probably would be a good thing overall, but it's just how you would utilise that union as a collective.